to everyone. You are watching JUS Punjabi, and this is the season finale of the Kaur Singh VAAD-VIVAAD debate program. We welcome all of our viewers watching all over the world, our live audience here in the JUS TV studios, and of course, all of the contestants who have worked tirelessly to be in this competition. Of course, we have our two finalists who will be debating tonight, and I will share the resolution with you shortly. Before we do, I want to remind everyone how this journey started. With preliminaries, 14 students partook in not just an intensive training session with their coaches, but various debate techniques that they practiced over the course of many, many months. From those 14, we had quarterfinals right here in New York City with 8 contestants. From those 8, we dwindled it down to 4. And after the final 4, here we have our 2 finalists. Of course, there is a new resolution on the table. For this debate, the final debate, let it be resolved that Sikhs should carry modern weapons in contemporary times. And now I would love to introduce and welcome to the stage our 2 finalists. Remember, viewers, arguing on the pro side for the resolution will be to my right. Arguing for the neg side to the resolution will be to my left. So let's welcome our 2 finalists arguing for the pro stance, Ruhani Singh. Arguing for the neg side, Jasjot Singh. And let's not forget the prize for which they are competing. Not just this beautiful trophy, but the title of champion of the Kaur Singh VAAD-VIVAAD. This competition has a theme of Kaurs who inspire, but really this is a community effort. The Kaurs and Singhs who have come together to make this show possible. With the organization of Nishkam TV and the production of JUS Punjabi, here we are with this finale ready to kick off. So without any further ado, let's kick off the debate show finale.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the final debate. Pro has 4 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and get started. Your time begins now.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Respected judges, esteemed opponent, and loved audience. Today we affirm the resolution. Sikhs should carry modern weapons in contemporary times. Since the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the Khalsa has upheld the principle of Sant Sipahi. A Sikh with this criteria must embody both a spiritual wisdom and a martial readiness. And thus we were given the Kirpan, not just an article of faith, but a symbol of duty to protect the oppressed and to uphold justice. Thus, when we find Sant Sipahi, the ability to practice righteousness, Sant, while maintaining readiness, Sipahi, to fulfill this principle in the modern era, Sikhs must be armed and prepared. And we carry this on understanding that a modern weapon, as defined by Webster's dictionary, is one that is center-readied, meaning that a fire, an explosive material, comes from the center of the weapon. This can be a handgun alongside a more extreme type of weapon. Thus, we go on to 3 key contentions to affirm this. The first one, being that Sikhs are a vulnerable minority. We have strength in our distinction. We've always taken Chardi Kala in the face of oppression of it, but it's no doubt that we are often targeted because time and time again we have fought against injustice. Sikhs have been frequent victims of targeted violence, and our history teaches us that unarmed Sikhs do suffer. And we were prepared, that is when we stand strong. We can look at post 9/11 hate crimes. The first individual victimed by a hate crime was a Sikh, Balbir Singh Sodhi. In that moment, a gas station owner in Arizona was shot and he was killed just for wearing a turban. We can look at the Oak Creek Gurdwara massacre of 2012, who murdered 6 Sikh worshippers. And we can look at 1984. What we know from time and time again is us as a minority Sikhs, we are targeted, and in this modern day world, the FBI data shows that hate crimes in the US has increased by 30% between 20 and 2022. 30%. Sikh Coalition has reported that 60% of Sikh students have experienced bullying and 67% of turban Sikhs have faced discrimination. So when we are facing statistics like this, it is no doubt that we must understand that to take it is the opposite of being sant sapai, but to go against it is to invoke that essence. Then what we understand as well is that Sikhs are capable of going far. And in that sense, one could argue that a weapon, a modern weapon in a contemporary time, might be something that we are not ready for, something that is too far. However, what is known is that history has proven that Sikhs and multiple other minorities create change through carrying weapons, through not taking peaceful protest. Gandhi helped independence, no doubt, but so did Bhagat Singh Ji through his revolutionary tactics. So what we understand is Sura so ke pachaniye ko laran tir ke hit. Maafi deni ji. And from this we know that to go far, to cut our enemies, that is something we are capable for. We know as a Sikh Qawm in the United States, we are capable of that. Because through institutions like our Gurdwaras, through Khalsa schools, and through our institutions we have created, we are capable of going far. So what we know overall is that armed Sikhs command respect. They command strength. And this perception is a beautiful one that we can take to carry our Sikh Qawm and to protect ourselves. So history has shown us the price of being unarmed. Let us never repeat that mistake. It is time for Sikhs to embrace modern weapons to fulfill our duty of protecting justice and humanity. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the negative with 7 minutes. Would you like to take some prep time?
May I get 3 minutes prep time?
Absolutely.
Your time starts now.
All right, you have 7 minutes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Your time begins now.
I negate the resolution that Sikhs should carry weapons in contemporary times. My value is Sikhi, and therefore my value criterion is societal harmony. While self-defense is a right, the greater concern must be preserving societal harmony. The widespread carrying of modern weapons, especially firearms, could lead to increased tension and even violence. Contention 1. By carrying weapons for self-defense on a daily basis, Sikhs face the greater risk of misinterpretation and stereotyping. Sikh identity has been subjected to misinterpretation, particularly in the post-9/11 era. Sikhs have been wrongly identified as militants or terrorists, often due to the presence of their turbans and their beards. The act of carrying modern weapons could exacerbate these misperceptions, leading to an increase in profiling, discrimination, and even violence. A 2013 study by Stanford found that 49% of Americans believed that Sikhism was a sect of Islam, and Americans often associated turbans with figures like Osama bin Laden. The tragic shooting at the Sikh temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin in 2012 stands as a chilling reminder of the dangers that arise from misinterpretation. Sikhs were targeted because they were believed to be linked to radicalism, despite having no association with such ideologies. Contention 2. Sikhs will face legal and social risks associated with weapon ownership, and these risks can lead to unintended consequences. The legal framework surrounding the ownership and use of firearms and other weapons is complicated, with laws varying widely across different regions, especially in the United States. According to the National Rifle Association, over 20,000 gun laws exist across this country, which often contain confusion and legal ambiguity. In high-stress situations where self-defense is necessary, such legal complexities could result in severe consequences, even when the actions were justified. A study by the Pew Research Center in 2020 found that 65% of Americans believe that gun laws in the United States are too lenient, leading to an increased likelihood of misinterpretation of self-defense actions and criminalization of responsible firearm use. A 2018 study from the American Journal of Public Health found that areas with higher rates of gun ownership experience 51% more gun-related deaths than regions with lower gun ownership rates. In other words, the solution to ending crime against Sikhs is not violence. Changing current policies through Sikh activism keeps the core principle of nonviolence intact. Thus, while the right to self-defense is fundamental, that concludes my case. Moving on to my rebuttal. Judge, my value premise is Sikhi, upheld by my criterion of societal harmony, which provides the clearest framework for today's round. I will now address and refute my opponent's case. Firstly, while Sikhs do face discrimination and violence, arming individuals is not the right option. Carrying weapons can escalate conflicts rather than prevent them, making situations even more dangerous. Additionally, Sikhs carrying modern weapons could reinforce negative stereotypes, as mentioned before, leading to more scrutiny and legal risks. Instead of relying on weapons, Sikhs should focus on legal protection. There are also many other ways to provide self-defense, including martial arts, using a kirpan, and more. Furthermore, Sikh history does emphasize self-defense, but it also stresses justice and normality. The Khalsa carried weapons in a time when no other protections existed, but today legal systems offer security. Arming Sikhs in contemporary society is unnecessary and could lead to increased fear rather than safety. Sikhs have historically progressed through resilience, advocacy, and unity, not through reliance on weapons. And lastly, respect is not earned through weapons, but through character and contributions to society. Carrying firearms does not necessarily make others respect Sikhs. It can make them fear or misunderstand them instead. Sikhs have gained respect through our values of service, bravery, and justice, not through intimidation or the use of weapons. If anything, widespread armament could create more division and harm the perception of Sikhs rather than strengthen their position in society. Thank you. That concludes my rebuttals.
All right, thank you so much. We will now move on to the pro rebuttal. Would you like to take some time? Or
Take 3 minutes of prep.
how many?
3.
Yeah.
Your time starts now.
All right, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, your time begins now.
The AF case remains strong as we continue within this debate. And the reasons for it are because while my opponent and I agree on many different topics, such as that the Sikh Qawm is strengthened by our responsibility to peace and justice over violence, what remains true is that the right to carry a firearm doesn't directly lead to violence. No one is saying that you should use the firearm. Rather, our contention replies that to carry one itself is an act and that we must engage in. And the reasons for that remain that we are, one, a vulnerable minority, that we can own arms responsibly because of our Sikh Qawm. My opponent mentioned that owning a firearm or owning a weapon can escalate conflict. He said, quote, widespread arms could lead to more conflict, unquote. But what's true is that violence in America has already been escalated. And this has been true for many years. My opponent himself said that more than 20,000 gun laws, confusing gun laws, have been passed. So who are we then to say that as individuals we can expect within the next 5-10 years for a good enacted gun law to come into play? We can't. And with violence getting so large and getting so widespread, we need to react responsibly and not reactively, but proactively. What's also true is that my opponent mentioned that it could perpetuate negative stereotypes. But I can tell you of another negative stereotype. In my own neighborhood, a year or two ago, a man had came down our street. And you could tell he was under influence and he wasn't acting in the correct way, threatening the inhabitants of our neighborhood. We, as a family that doesn't own a firearm, couldn't do anything but stay in our house. However, our neighbor, who was an ex-Marine, came outside with his assault rifle and said, "Watch out!" And he went away before we called the police on him. So in that moment, a Sikh who is meant by their distinct identity to protect others and to protect ourselves as given to us by a Sant Sipahi, have we not failed in that context? Have we not failed to show that we as Sikhs are capable of protecting each other and our civilians just like my neighbor is? And we look at the statistics today, Americans in the United States care about their firearms and they care about them a lot. Over 44% of American households have a firearm. And if that is true, why do we as Sikhs consider ourselves different than that 44%, which is growing steadily and more and more? When my friend's father first got his citizenship, the first thing he did is go out and buy a gun. So we should wonder to ourselves, why do we not allow ourselves to carry one? And thus we must answer the questions, what does happen when we are faced as a vulnerable community with an extenuating circumstance such as being victimized such as?
Thank you so much. All right. Pro, would you like to take any more prep time before your final 3-minute speech?
Can I take the rest of my prep?
Yes.
Time starts now.
You ready?
Yes.
All right. Your time for the final pro speech begins now.
At the conclusion of this debate, I have come to a much larger understanding of the complex and intricate topic that is carrying firearms or contemporary weapons within the United States as a Sikh individual, as a part of the Sikh Qawm. However, the affirmation wins this case. And the reason for that is because while it is true that this is a complex topic, it is true that we might be perceived differently for carrying firearms, and it is true that we could possibly be misled and as a minority misseen. What's also prevailing is that ultimately to be a Sant Sipahi, to be a warrior for our gurus while remaining the truth and the lessons our gurus have given us means to make harmony in this world, which is my opponent's main point to his debate. And we make harmony in our world through one, protecting ourselves. Being a minority today is a hard thing. And for a Sikh minority with a distinct identity, it means facing challenges that other minorities might not expect. So, thus, we must react in accordance to that. And my opponent has not perceived upon when we are faced with an extreme circumstance of being faced with an individual that is carrying a weapon that we can't respond through self-defense or types of karate alone. The question then becomes, can we pick up a firearm? Because this is going to happen more and more often. Finally, it's also true that we are capable of facing extremities, such as that of owning a contemporary weapon. Guru Gobind Singh Ji, when he asked the Panch Pyare, when he asked all the crowd there, he asked for people who would give their heads up. That is not a small thing. That is someone who is willing to fight no matter what. So in this moment, why do we shy away from owning a modern weapon in the contemporary world when it was Panch Pyare and the Guru Sikhs that were able and willing to do anything? So in the end, the Af world stands strong. To be a warrior, to be a Sant Sipahi is to carry the wisdom that our gurus have given us, to understand that we didn't create the Khalsa to be passive, but to stand strong against tyranny. Bulchak maafi deni ji. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki Fateh.
Thank you so much. And now we have our final con speech. Do you want to take any time?
You have 2 minutes left.
Please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Time starts now.
All right, are you ready? The time for your final speech begins now.
Finally, the moment we've all been waiting for. I will crystallize and prove my key points and value framework superior to my opponent. Once again, my value framework is societal harmony. My opponent's argument is built on the illusion that carrying modern weapons, particularly firearms, will ensure safety when in fact it will invite misinterpretation and greater violence. Sikhs already struggle with deep-rooted stereotypes, especially in the West, where ignorance has led to hate crimes and violence. My opponent's claim to arm Sikhs only exacerbates this issue, arming a misunderstood minority in a country where turbans and beards are already wrongly associated with extremism is a disaster waiting to happen. Also, to clarify, the Oak Creek Gurdwara shooting was not only an isolated incident, it was also fueled by misconception and ignorance. My opponent's argument is conveniently ignorant of the reality of firearm laws in the United States. Gun ownership in America is not necessarily a simple right. It varies across states to states. It is a legal minefield that can and will turn Sikhs into criminals under the wrong circumstances. Over 20,000 different gun laws exist in the United States, and Sikhs would be at the mercy of biased interceptions in a system that is already riddled with injustice. And let's not forget, studies have consistently shown that guns do not ensure more safety. In fact, regions with higher gun ownership, again, see a 51% increase in gun-related deaths. The affirmative case is a fantasy, one where Sikhs can supposedly carry weapons without facing legal scrutiny, accidental escalation, or tragic misjudgment. The truth, Sikhs will face even greater risks, whether from law enforcement, the justice system, or even accidental misinterpretation during a moment of crisis. The greatest irony in my opponent's case is that it directly contradicts the very fundamental principles of Sikhi. Sikhism is built on divine grace, justice, and moral fortitude, not on lethal force. In conclusion, based on the overwhelming victory of these key points, I have unquestionably upheld my value premise of Sikhi with my value criterion of societal harmony. Every argument I presented has systemically dismantled my opponent's case, and each point has deemed the negative case as a clear winner. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
Well, judges, here we are for the final deliberation discussion for season 1. Season 1, as you know, kicked off a little under a year ago. We are down from 22 candidates to 2 final opponents. You all have masterfully guided us through 13 studio debate discussions, and now for this very final decision, we're grateful to have all 6 of your brain power in this room to help us make this decision.
So over the course of the season, we've seen so many debates, 3 topics, and so this is the biggest one of them all. So try to clear your minds of everything you've seen before, take this one afresh, and with that, we leave you to your deliberation.
We'll be back in a little bit.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to make a note of a couple of things that I really appreciated in this round. So one of them is I really appreciated in the opening pro speech, I appreciated her value criterion, Sun Sabai. I think that was the perfect way to frame the pro side of this argument, right? Both the duty to be spiritual as well as to martial affairs. And I couldn't think of a better way to frame this whole argument and support her side. And then in addition to that, moving into just Jyoth's opening speech as well as his rebuttal, one of the things that I really appreciated was his use of statistics. And then not only his use of statistics, because we've seen that a lot throughout these debates, right? But the way that he actually had them fit into his narrative appropriately, as opposed to just bombing us with data. So those are two things that I really noticed in this round.
Also, just to add to that, like I think I really did appreciate Pro's intro and the fact her values sounds quite like you said, amazing. One thing for me with Pro, I think, and I saw this even in the semifinal round, she's a strong speaker, amazing speaker.
Agreed.
But I think she always tends to cut. She doesn't give herself enough time, and she almost always has a hard time finishing. At least for the debates that I was judging her for. But then one thing that I really liked for negative was Clash. I thought he did a really good job in speaking directly to her contentions and addressing them point by point. And then even when she came in for her rebuttal and then her conclusion, she addressed some of the things, but then he brought that back up in his conclusion as well. So I really like that from Joshua.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, go for it.
No, I was saying I definitely agree. First of all, Ruhani was a great speaker, and I like how she kind of, normally I don't always like this in debates, but she managed to get some like emotional kind of speech and empathy. So I liked her one part about where she talked about how there was someone in her neighborhood that was potentially armed, and she hits her family, like they couldn't fulfill their Sikh duty to protect others, like tying in perfectly to her value criterion of Sansapai. So I thought that was a good way to kind of resonate, especially with like the audience and us the Sikhs and like understanding the real value of what it means to defend others. So I thought that was a great point. But again, I agree with you on the Clash. I don't think she focused a little too much on having like strong speech and emotional appeal. But then she kind of missed, like, for example, his second contention. I didn't feel convinced that she was able to address that respect to be earned through character and not through weapons. She was kind of focused on we need to protect everyone, and I didn't hear about how she said we must need the weapons in order to have that. So yeah, I think she could have just addressed his points a little bit more directly, and I feel like she was also missing a lot of specific evidence she could have brought out to make the clash more dynamic.
Right.
I think one of the things that I was thinking about the debate is that, to me, you know, on one hand you have Sansabahi and on the other you have social harmony. At one point, I think the pro did say that one of the ways of bringing in social harmony is through the use of weapons. And so I think between those two things, the question was about social harmony. And I think both sides did make arguments on social harmony. I think on one hand, pro is making the argument that we have social harmony when you have the ability to defend yourself because our community is being attacked. We have like so many pieces of our population that are at risk right now. And so that need to defend ourselves is part of social harmony, as well as the need to defend others, which is part of social harmony. I think on the con side, you have this idea of, I think it took like kind of, we were talking about a very facts-based approach to what social harmony would mean. And I think that's kind of where some of that clash really happened. I was super impressed by the way that he was able to carry through his argument throughout the flow. Because there was a place where he cited a journal article, I can't remember which journal, but that said that as gun ownership rises in areas, so too do gun deaths by 51%. And so I think not only did he say that, he responded to the pro saying, well, if we're really talking about social harmony, how can we say that a 51% rise in deaths is social harmony? So I think that's kind of where the tension is. There were parts of the pro that weren't responded to, like histories of Sikh warriors that carried weapons. So there is that little bit of, you know, we have to figure out how to weigh that. But that was, I think, to me, what the debate crystallized down to, who could prove like safety and wellness of our community the best.
Yeah, absolutely. While the Khan did come up with a bunch of different statistics that were quite, strong to his argument, I feel like the pro also did come up with a few statistics that were also quite impressive. Balbir Singh Sodhi, if you guys recall from the argument, was one of the first hate crimes that happened. That was a very good argument or evidence to bring to the argument. Also, the shooting that happened in the Gurdwara in Wisconsin. And then also this very interesting statistic, which was 60% of Sikhs get bullied. And then on top of that, 67% get discriminated. She used that statistic to her advantage by saying that, Sikhs need shastras or need weapons, essentially to decrease that statistic. And then one thing that she brought up also along in the rebuttal rounds was that 44% of the U.S. are gun owners, and it's always growing, and it's constantly growing. And I think that really does back up the point that, like, even though there are shootings that are happening, people are also owning guns as well. So that does play into slight role. But I don't want to take away from the fact that the Khan also had quite impressive stats. Also,
I do want to add one thing, if I may. One of the things I also appreciated on it, since we're talking about the pro case, was she acknowledged in her rebuttal the nuance of the debate and the nuance of the resolution.
Yeah.
She specifically pointed out that we are talking about owning a weapon. Like it says, the resolution says Sikhs should own contemporary firearms. Carry contemporary.
Yeah.
Modern weapons in contemporary times. But they didn't say specifically to use. Now I understand what the implications and the downstream effects are, because the next side very clearly brought all of those up.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate the fact that she addressed that nuance, and I thought it was an effective tactic.
I agree. And I think just on that point, I think this is where the Sikh identity and self-identity really comes into play. Because again, it's just carrying doesn't mean usage, but that even carry really has a weight on the identity of the individual, right? And then I think this is where the Knight case comes in, where there's already a lot of misunderstanding about Sikhs in America and Sikhs in contemporary times, where this just further adds to the turmoil going on.
Right, he said it was a disaster.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is that when we talk about Sikh identity, Sans Sabai is a really big part of our identity. But then what happens when contemporary times don't understand your identity? So I think that's really where the clash of this debate is, and I think both sides have made really good points.
Yeah.
And I think if we want, we might be able to start making our decisions.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
This has been a fruitful discussion.
Yeah.
A fruitful debate.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate everybody's thoughts here. It's really hard to judge these debates, but I think together we can really work through these things.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's go ahead and do it then.
Yeah.
Judges, have you reached a decision?
We have.
Great. Well, we are here to collect your results, tabulate them, and then share them with our show host. So we will collect your slips now.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome everyone once again to the Kaur Singh VAAD-VIVAAD debate competition. We are at the final episode, and the winner, the champion of this debate competition, is right here in this folder. Of course, like I mentioned to you, we have some special awards to share with our wonderful contestants who didn't just compete in the skill of debate with all of the technical expertise that was handed down to them by the various coaches and guides that helped them throughout this journey. We have awards for them as well as the champion tonight. I will be announcing those awards before we get to the champion, but before we do any announcements or prizes today, it is my great honor to welcome with us the guest of honor tonight. She's a woman who truly defines the theme, Kaurs who inspire. And she isn't just a Kaur who inspires other women, young women, but everyone, man, woman, child, everyone can take inspiration from our guest tonight. So please join me in welcoming, with a thunderous applause, Dr. Ganesha Kaur. So good to see you, Doctor. Though the bio that I could share here, the accolades, would take a long, long time, there are some things I would like to mention about Dr. Kaur. Physician, scientist, writer, mother, and a community activist. Dr. Kaur is not just an associate professor of anesthesiology, she's the founding director of the Human Rights Impact Lab, as well as the co-medical director of the Weill Cornell Center for Human Rights, advancing the health of forcibly displaced individuals, such as refugees, and asylum seekers, Dr. Kaur has personified the values of Sikhi. In addition to that, since we are all watching this on TV, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that she's presented her medical and scientific expertise in mainstream media outlets such as Time Magazine, CNN, NBC News, and NPR. And today, she's joined us here at JUS Punjabi for this very special program. Once again, Dr. Kaur, we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, 3 from my side. If you want to read them out, I'll start tabulating.
The results of the final debate.
We have them right here.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Ganesha, thank you so much for the inspirational way that you participated in this program. Of course, all of the contestants, the parents, everyone was so thrilled to have you be the guest of honor and to receive their awards from you personally. Thank you for being here again. I'm sure you have some words you want to share with us today.
Thank you. That's so kind. I'll start with Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. Congratulations to the contestants, to the families who supported them through this entire process. When I was younger, I actually participated in a competition just like this, and I think for me, it was a truly transformative experience. I have found that whether it was speaking about climate change, about vulnerable populations, about the human rights work that I do, being able to consider both sides of an argument, to land on one, to be open to other people's perspectives and opinions, and putting yourself in another person's shoes has served me incredibly well. Particularly as a Sikh, I think it is our responsibility to speak out for justice and to speak truth without fear and through a voice of love. It is this ability to hone and to share your thoughts in public that is such a powerful skill, and one that you are really building through this program. And how empowering is it that the awards were celebrated with these beautiful books, which is really a celebration of intellect and your beautiful minds and what you brought to this stage. This program is really about giving you the tools to be a leader and develop those leadership skills, understanding both sides of an argument, being able to affirm and negate, and to emerge as a thought leader in how you communicate your position. And I think this skill, this ability will become even more important as the world enters more tumultuous times. No matter what professional path you go down, you will find this ability to curate your thoughts and speak in public as a commanding tool. Many people have many good ideas, and I think being able to convey them is how you can impact the world and really affect the greatest change. So be good, do good, use your voices for impact. Congratulations, and be really proud of what you've achieved today.
And now, I know you guys are so excited. Everyone's waiting to hear who the winners are. But before we get to them, I would like to announce the special awards for this competition for Best Public Speaker. The Best Public Speaker for the quarterfinal round is Rebuttal. Congratulations, Meher. You can open that if you want to. Wonderful. And I have one more special speaker award to announce for the semifinals. The Best Speaker Award goes to Ruhani Singh. Congratulations, Ruhani. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Dr. Kaur, the moment's finally here.
Here.
We have a very anxious audience waiting, and of course the viewers at home as well. So I will present this envelope to you, and in it are the results of the final match. Please read out loud who won the debate competition.
Jasjot Singh. This award. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jasjot. Good job. One more round of applause for Jasjot. Let's hear it.
In addition, great job. We're presenting you this book, which is quite heavy. Got it? All right. Congratulations again.
Good job. Good job. And of course, Dr. Kaur, I'd love for you to present Ruhani Singh as our runner-up with her award as well.
Congratulations. Hope you enjoy this beautiful book.
And I'd like to now invite the top 4 contestants who participated in the quarterfinals for a very special gift put together by the Nishkam team for this debate competition. Please join us on stage. Sumer, Bhavit, come on up.
Really great job. Congratulations.
Thank you to our audience, to our live viewers at home. Thank you to all of the parents, the families, the friends that have come out in support of these contestants. Thank you to the contestants themselves for taking the time. Even though you're in high school, going to college, advancing in your grade, you took the time to be a part of this program. Thank you for making the effort, because like Dr. Ganesha said, the world will certainly need folks like you. And most importantly, thanks to the teams that came together to make this possible, the Nishkam TV team, the JUS TV team. Of course, you're watching this on JUS Punjabi, and we are so proud of the work that our community has done, is doing, and will continue to do. And with that, I say thank you to everyone. Stay tuned for season 2. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I'm Kaur Singh, a tech professional and real estate investor. Like many people, I used to think the only way to build wealth was by working hard at a 9-to-5 job. That all changed when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The book opened my eyes to the power of investing, how real estate can create passive income and long-term wealth rather than just relying on a paycheck. I realized that building a portfolio of properties was a way to create financial freedom and gain control over my future. So I dove into real estate investing, and let me tell you, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. Investing is key to securing financial independence. Whether you're looking for side income or a long-term strategy, real estate can make it happen. I'm passionate about giving back and teaching others how to get started on their investing journey too. So, if you're interested in learning more about real estate investing, feel free to follow me on Instagram and shoot me a DM.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. This is Harman Singh, Executive Director of the Sikh Coalition. For more than 20 years, the Sikh Coalition has worked to reduce hate, violence, and discrimination experienced by the Sikh community. Nationwide, we work in the court system, in policy, in education, community development, and media and communications to raise the Sikh profile and build a new future for Sikh youth. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.